In this video of the Mine Simulator TMS, we're going to cover more input parameters into the Mine Simulator input spreadsheet. In this particular video, we're going to cover the general parameters. The general parameters sheet is accessed from the main menu using the General tab and then the General Parameters tab in the General sheet. In this sheet, you can define which parts of your simulation you want to run if you have multiple types, i.e. you have mine, rails and ports. So in this particular simulation we're looking at here, it's a simulation of a mine and a port. So if I just want to run the mine part of the simulation, I can just pull down and say, no, I don't want to run the port. So in this case, when I run a simulation like this, all it does is run the mine component of the simulation, and when the mine produces its material, it goes onto the product stockpiles, and then that's what happens to it. And the stockpiles may fill, but then they are emptied automatically. To run the simulation with the mine and the port, we just turn the port on, and now it runs both the mine and the port. Some of the run controls, you've got simulation accuracy parameters. This is generally when to calculate the speed of trucks. So if you have it set it to 1, it defines how often the simulation is going to calculate the speed of the truck. When it's set to 1, what it means is the simulation will be calculating the acceleration and deceleration of the vehicle in 1 kilometre increments. If you set it to 5, the simulation calculates the speed in 5 kilometre per hour increments. It'll still honour the speed of the truck. It's just that the simulation is not as accurate as it would be. I usually run it with 1, so that is usually quite an accurate result of the calculation of the speed of the truck. The simulation, you can run it in 2 modes. You can run it in batch mode. That means it doesn't display the animation. That means it runs faster. Or you can run it in animation mode. So when you're running it in batch mode, the simulation will actually come up with a screen saying things like how many iterations it's got to run, which iteration it's running right now, how many hours it's run. It'll also give you a time estimate of when the simulation will be finished. It'll say the simulation is going to be finished today at 2:15 in the afternoon, or whatever it may be. And it's added a bit of other information in the batch displaying. So this parameter here, 1%, that means as the simulation is running, it's just updating every 1% it's gone through a iteration. So the batch display, I've just done 1%, it'll change the parameters on the batch display after 2%, etc. Now the animation display interval, when it's moving, shows up the trucks, the fixed plant, etc., and tons through plants and all this sort of stuff in the animation. So this animation display just says I'm going to update it every 1/100th of a minute. So it's always updating the display. The bigger the number you have here, the faster the simulation runs in animation mode. But it depends on how you want to see. If you want to see the trucks moving along nice and smoothly along the haul roads, etc., etc., then you set it to a small parameter, to a small value. As I've mentioned before, the simulation will track up to 20 material attributes, so you can actually say whether you're tracking it or not. When you don't track the materials, the simulation runs just a slightly bit faster, not too much. It doesn't make a big difference in the speed of the simulation. But if you are using the simulation to process material through a plant where you want to split the material on yield or recovery, you have to have this turned on, otherwise the simulation is not tracking yield through the system. And the mine type, currently in the simulation there's 3 mine types. Generally a flat mine, all it is a way it assigns distance to a mine block, or to find the closest mine block. So in a flat block, it's just using X, Y, Z distance from where, if you want to assign a distance a mine block is from a haul road node, it just uses X, Y, Z. For open pits, it uses the haul node, which is on the closest RL, so it matches up with the bench. And underground, it uses the closest XYZ, very similar to like a flat deposit. So it's all it is how mine blocks are assigned to haulage nodes and subsequently digging units. It's just a different way of whether you're going to bring the Z component into it or not, as such. So that's the general parameters. So it's mainly just turning on and off certain parts of your simulation, and how you want your simulation to look when you're running in batch mode or animation mode, and also how you want the simulation, what data you want to use to calculate where a mine block is relative to a haul road node. Generally, most of the simulations I run with this. The only thing I change is if I'm doing an underground or open pit, I'll change this. So I'm using flat here because this is actually a simulation of a bauxite mine, so it's like a big flat pancake. Okay, that's it. Thank you.